Protect your car with 3W Liners all-weather floor mats. Made from durable materials like TPE and rubber, our mats are designed to withstand rain, snow, and mud with deep grooves to trap dirt and liquids. For a custom fit and advanced protection, visit 3W Liners. That's the number 3, WLINERS.com today. At Acasis, innovation drives us. Since 2008, we've been creating cutting-edge technology products that make your life easier. With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit Acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farms, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com. Unlock a world of convenience with Mully Box, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. From gourmet snacks to unique finds, each box is tailored to your tastes. Experience the joy of surprises. Subscribe today at mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.
Welcome in. It is the Camp Show on Rogue Media Sports Network, live on YouTube, just as we are, high noon Eastern time every weekday, and then available wherever you get your podcasts as well. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air every day. And Liverpool are the Premier League champions of 2025. Now, unfortunately, that's all I can say about it on this show, because you guys came here to talk about the NFL draft, and we will go over the grades that the Patriots are being given and whether they had to reach for a couple of these guys in the first couple rounds and left some real talent on the board. Plus, we will talk about Shedeur Sanders, the talk of the draft, and why everyone saying this is a race thing is completely and utterly wrong. And we have got the proof to back that up. Plus, Belichick had another interview, another very, very awkward interaction with Jordan Hudson. This is getting weirder and weirder on a national scale. We'll talk about all that and more on this episode of The Cam Show. So we talked about on Friday the Will Campbell pick. If you haven't seen it, definitely recommend going back and seeing that on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Went in depth about the Will Campbell pick at 4 and how Patriots fans can cope with it. Like, I don't love it. It wasn't like my first choice, not just because it's not a sexy pick as an offensive lineman, but because of the real red flags about Will Campbell being a left tackle in the NFL. I just don't. It felt like the closer we got to the draft, the more Patriots fans and people covering the team just kind of pushed it away. They're just like, yeah, but he's Vrabel's guy. Vrabel likes him, so we like him. It's just, it's odd for me. And I thought they could have traded out of that pick and still gotten Will Campbell. Now that, of course, Vrabel said, "Oh, we didn't have any offers to move into number 4," and I doubt it. Maybe not any great offers, but I think Will Campbell is a guy you could have gotten at 7 or 8 or maybe 10. I know Kelvin Banks went, I believe, 8. But you could have gotten one of the top 2 tackles in the draft in a pretty poor tackle class and still gotten some extra draft capital. But whatever, they didn't do it. They picked Will Campbell at 4. It was a safe pick. I think the guy's going to be a good offensive lineman in the NFL, whether it's tackle or guard. So hopefully in a few years, you have done enough in the draft and free agency, and you've done enough to improve that it doesn't matter that he's a guard rather than a tackle. You know, you look at the 2 highest paid guards in the history of the league, and they play for the Chiefs and the Eagles, the 2 teams that were in the Super Bowl last year. So it's a pretty good mark of having good football teams is having good interior offensive linemen as well. But let's move past that. The analysts are raving. They love this draft for the New England Patriots. A grades, A- grades, B+ grades, all across the board. And as I look back on this draft, it's tough for me to argue. I think it was a pretty successful draft. Now, we won't know how successful it is until obviously the season starts, because last year's draft didn't look as good as this, but it looked solid in places, and really you got one starter out of it. So therefore it's not a good draft. But this one seems to have addressed a lot of the team's needs, right? You've needed a left tackle for years. You think you went and got one in the top 5. You all of a sudden needed a center after forcing David Andrews out. You got one of the top 2 or 3 center prospects in the entire draft, and you got him at a bargain. What'd you get him, the 4th round? I want to say you got the center out of Georgia. So just like David Andrews, right? Yeah, Jared Wilson, round 3, excuse me, pick 95. That was graded an A-, by the way. Where I was a little hesitant was that 2nd round pick. The Patriots go with TreVeyon Henderson, who is a big-time offensive weapon prospect in this draft, a running back out of Ohio State, was the top running back in the country coming out of high school. And there's some good things about TreVeyon Henderson. He's a real good pass blocker already, which is something that Josh McDaniels has always coveted. Those pass-catching backs have to be good. Those 3rd down guys, good in pass pro. And that was certainly the case for Shane Vereen and James White. It even took them a little bit, if I recall correctly, specifically James White. I mean, I think James White was a healthy scratch for that Super Bowl against the Seahawks. He didn't even dress for the team. So it took him a while to kind of figure that out. TreVeyon Henderson seems to have that. He's obviously got explosive speed, big-time playmaker at the college level. What I didn't like about it, though, is you had the guy who was a few months ago the number one receiver prospect in the draft, Luther Burden, was still there. And the guy whose name I'm not even going to come close to pronouncing correctly, the defensive end, the pass rusher from BC, was still on the board. And you went with running back. I didn't love that. I talked about it a lot with the whole Ashton Genty rumor. I just don't think the Patriots are in a place where they're going to be using premium, or they should be using premium draft capital on a running back. I just don't think they're very close to that. But if you want to spin it as, hey, here's a guy who is a weapon, not just a running back, but a weapon on third down specifically to help Drake Maye, okay. Right? Shane Vereen was a third-round pick, I want to say. I think James White was a second-round pick. So you've used picks in that area before to get a guy similar to TreVeyon Henderson. But I just didn't like leaving those guys on the board. Luther Burden, you can say, oh, well, that was a character issue. And certainly we've heard a lot about that. The guy seems like an absolute prick, and probably not something that Mike Vrabel wants in the locker room. Okay, you can use that excuse, even though he's probably, last year it looked like he was going to be the number one receiver off the board in this draft. Okay, but you say it's a character thing, so you don't pick him in the second round. But in round 5, you take Braden Swinson from LSU, an edge rusher who does have character concerns. That's why he was picked in the 5th round. This guy was getting first, second round grades a few months ago. He's picked in the 5th. So then it's not a character problem. You decided to pass on, the 3rd or 4th best pass rusher in the draft class, and instead you take a guy at the same position with some character concerns as the 6th, 7th, or 8th pass rusher in the draft. To me, that's just a little confusing. But the Patriots are still getting pretty damn good grades here overall. Still getting A's and B's across the board. I do think you helped out Drake Maye with getting 2 offensive linemen who you expect to start, hopefully start. You've got a running back in TreVeyon Henderson who could be your third down back, hopefully from snap 1. Hopefully it's not like, Shane Vereen and James White where it's going to take some time. And the other one is your receiver that you got from Washington State, Kyle Williams. Again, not one of the first names that you saw in the wide receivers available in this draft. Obviously, it was Tet McMillan, it was Matthew Golden, it was Egbuka from Ohio State. Those guys all go in the first round. Washington State against nobodies at midnight on the CW, so you didn't see a ton of him. But this guy is productive. He's undersized, so he slips to the 3rd round. I think this is a guy that can be a player for the Patriots right away. And so if you look at the draft and look at what you were going for after free agency, when you bulked up a ton defensively, you were saying weapons for Drake Maye, protection for Drake Maye. I think he got both of those things. I don't necessarily like the way they went about it, but you got, I think, an undervalued wide receiver. I was singing the praises of Jaden Higgins the other day from Iowa State, a guy I got to see play a lot in the Big 12. I think Houston got both those Iowa State guys, right? Higgins and Noel. I was big on Jaden Higgins, and I think you got a very similar player in Kyle Williams a little bit further on down the draft at pick number 69. So I think that was plus value for the Patriots. You got the things that you were wanting out of this draft. But it remains to be seen, obviously. If these guys aren't ready to play the way they were in the 24 draft class, then you're talking about another setback, another year where you're talking about 4 or 5 wins and picking in the top 5 again. Even if these guys do play, you could be talking about that. But at least you're making a step in the right direction. You have not drafted starters in years here. Not since what? That 22 draft? 20. Is that the one I'm thinking of? They got a couple of guys out of that, but since then, you have not drafted starters in 23 or in 24, and it's led directly to the end of, an era with another group of guys, core group of guys, those guys being, after Brady, but being James White, Devin McCourty, and, Matthew Slater as well. David Andrews now a part of that shelf as well. And you have not been able to replace them. So you've got to be, we said before this draft, you got to have 3 or 4 starters here. And you might well have gotten that. Will Campbell's going to be a starter. Okay. The center from Georgia, Wilson, he's going to be a starter. Kyle Williams, going to have every opportunity to start, every opportunity with that wide receiver room. And Mike Vrabel already calling them out, having them check their ego at the door. There's an opening there. Okay. TreVeyon Henderson, I don't know. I guess you maybe don't call a third down back a starter, but in this offense, they essentially are. And poor Joe Cardona, man. Poor Joe Cardona, the last remnants now of a Super Bowl champion with the Patriots, might be forced out the door. Vanderbilt long snapper. You get the long snapper and you get the kicker at the end of the draft. The kicker from Miami. Obviously an illustrious history of drafting kickers since Gostkowski had a great run of kickers the last few years. Not named Nick Folk, right? Joey Sly. Who's the kid from Marshall that everybody said was racist? Rohrwasser. He drafted him. And the other one, Chad Ryland, baby. Chad Ryland, the reason we got Drake Maye, we almost screwed up the Drake Maye thing, but Chad Ryland shanked that kick against the Giants, and the Giants really wanted Drake Maye. Brian Daboll really wanted Drake Maye. So it's been a heck of a run for Patriots kickers since Gostkowski left, was forced out. Maybe they finally found something. You pick a kid in Miami who's never kicked in the bad weather. So we'll see how that goes. But overall, I think you get a solid B+ out of this because I think you got at least 3 starters. And that's what you were looking for. You got weapons for Drake Maye. We knew there was going to be undervalued guys at the wide receiver position in this class. You got one of them. Nice pick, Kyle Williams, 69. Nice. Right? You knew that Tet McMillan was a kind of a reach as a top 10 pick. He was picked in the top 10. I think that's a reach. And that the distance between wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 6 or 7 is not nearly the gap that it's been in the last few years, certainly not in the Marvin Harrison Jr. year. So you got plus value there. Running backs outside of Ashton Genty was a crapshoot, and you got probably the second best one in TreVeyon Henderson. In fact, you looked at the big board for all of this, and the Patriots said, Elliott Wolf said, I was skeptical of it. Elliott Wolf said that they were going for the best player available. It made perfect sense, right? The Patriots needed to upgrade at every position outside of quarterback. And so you needed to go out and get whoever the best guys were. And it's easier said than done. And I think outside of the first round, they did that. First round, Will Campbell's not the 4th best player. Although, if you look at the consensus big board rankings, which does take into account in the first round who the team is that's picking them, this is how the Patriots stacked up. Will Campbell picked number 4. Big board had him at number 4 because the Patriots were on that pick. But anyway, after that, it gets a little different. TreVeyon Henderson, they picked him at 38. The big board had him at 37. Kyle Williams, they picked him at 69. Big board had him at 74. Jared Wilson, they picked at 95. Big board had him at 80. So real value there. And then Craig Woodson, the safety out of Cal, you picked him at 106. This is the outlier. Big board had him at 188. 188. Josh Farmer, you picked. We get back into the value here, by the way. Josh Farmer, you picked him at 137. Big board had him at 86. And Braden Swinson, the defensive edge guy from LSU, Braden Swinson, was picked 146. Big board had him at 71. That's a big time drop. Huge drop for Braden Swinson. Again, some character issues there, perhaps. Certainly heard about that a little bit on the tail end at LSU. Who would have thought that Massachusetts native Brian Kelly wasn't running just a real upstanding program with some great young men? Who would have thunk it? Anyway, overall, I think you can be happy with this Patriots draft. We'll know more about it in October. But Mike Vrabel went out, got some culture guys, got some best players available, fixed some holes on his team without reaching too much, I don't think, especially on the at the offensive line. Again, Campbell, I guess, according to the big board, not a huge reach. I think it was a bit of a reach. But Wilson was a great value pick at center, and you really desperately need a center. That Cole Strange thing, I don't think is going to work out at any position. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. How would you grade this Patriots draft on an A through F scale? Let me know in the comment section below what was your favorite pick by the Patriots in this draft. Let me know. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Only about 10% of you watching are actually subscribed. Hit that subscribe button. Join the community here. We're bringing you nothing but Boston sports content 5 days a week, live on YouTube every weekday, high noon Eastern time, and then wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Cam Stewart, your host. Zach Burke keeps us on the air. Check out the other videos on the channel to keep up with the show, and join us every day on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. The Cam Show rolls on. Because you thought Braden Swinson dropped in the draft. The story of this draft was a guy who was picked in the 4th round. Shedeur Sanders. Was this a race thing? Or are there plenty of other reasons why Shedeur Sanders fell in the draft? I'll give you a hint. It's the latter. We'll talk about that next on The Cam Show.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com. Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Cleanse your body of accumulated toxins and embark on your wellness journey at your own pace. At Global Healing, we provide premium supplements to help your body heal naturally. Combine that with OrganicHemp.com's top quality CBD for ultimate balance. Start your healing journey today at GlobalHealing.com and OrganicHemp.com. Unlock a world of convenience with Box, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. Each box is tailored to your taste. Experience the joy of surprises. Subscribe today at mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com. At Tusane's, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit Tusanes.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.
And now, back to our show.
Welcome back to the Cam Show, Rogue Media Sports Network. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air. We talked about the Patriots draft. I gave it a solid B+, which I got a lot of in school. A lot of B+. That could have been A's if I just kept my head screwed on straight, but I was lazy. I'm not saying the Patriots are lazy, but a B+ is a good grade still. Dad, okay? It's still a good grade. So what? I got a B+ in gym. All right. It's still a good grade. I think that was a solid draft for the Patriots. I think they went out and got some starters, and I think they filled some of the holes they needed to, both in protecting Drake Maye and helping Drake Maye. And those are two different things, very different things for the most part, right? Will Campbell should be both, should be protecting and helping Drake Maye. But TreVeyon Henderson is doing a lot more helping Drake Maye than he is protecting Drake Maye. Anyway, so that's what we went over with the Patriots in the draft. Of course, we are live on YouTube just as we are every weekday, high noon Eastern time. And then we're available wherever you get your podcasts as well. The real story, though. Shedeur Sanders. Why did Shedeur Sanders fall to the 5th round of the NFL draft? That was the question all weekend. And the answer is not as simple as a lot of people on Twitter or Stephen A. Smith or RG3 seem to think it is. Mel Kiper had a generational crash out this weekend. I've never seen anything like it from an analyst. I mean, it was incredible that Mel Kiper was arguing for Shedeur Sanders to be the number 1 pick in the draft, which was already asinine, crazy. We talked about it on the show on Friday, but he drops to 144, and all of a sudden Mel Kiper is saying the NFL doesn't know how to evaluate quarterbacks. I do. They've got it wrong for 50 years. I'm right. Remember the Jimmy Clausen thing? I was so dead on about that, right, Mel? It was so bizarre. I mean, we knew going into this that if Shedeur Sanders slipped, like outside of the top 10, it was going to be the biggest story in the draft. And it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger as he kept sliding into, past day 1, past day 2, way into day 3. And Mel Kiper is crashing out, and people have all kinds of theories on Twitter and on social media and online that Shedeur Sanders was not taken because of his dad, because of his race, because of all these other kinds of things. And I assure you it is much simpler than that. It is. Because, we had, I don't even remember who the bozo was on Thursday night saying, of course the Giants weren't going to pick Shedeur Sanders. They hate black quarterbacks. Of course that, they went out and got 2 black quarterbacks on their roster right now. Their starting quarterback's going to be black no matter what. It's going to be Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston. Okay, they went out and got 2 of them this year. So, yeah, they hate black quarterbacks. So that's why they didn't take Shedeur Sanders. And then it became the Deion aspect of this. And of course, there's some weight to that. Of course there is. Deion is brash. He's outspoken. He brings a big time circus with him, right? Look at the pro day. Like everyone was forced to wear the ain't too hard to find. And there was all this kind of hullabaloo around the pro day. Honestly, I don't think NFL teams care too much about that. Deion's going to be coaching at Colorado. He's going to be talking about his son no matter where he's playing, right? I don't think this is not a case of like Deion is going to be there at training camp or going to be holding court after games. It's not going to be anything like that. But this did spark some comparisons. A lot of people comparing it to the 2004 draft when Eli Manning was the consensus number 1 pick, but said he was not going to play for the team that had the number 1 pick, the San Diego Chargers. And I saw this countless times on social media this weekend of people saying, yeah, remember Eli and Archie did this, but no one was talking about that. And now when Shedeur and Deion do it, it's a big deal. And this is one of my least favorite trends amongst anything, but specifically social media. Just because you don't remember it or it was before your time does not mean that it did not happen. Okay? There was no Twitter in 2004, so there's no screenshots we can go back and find the tweets of everybody's fucking opinion on it. But the Eli Manning, Archie Manning 2004 NFL draft saga was the biggest sports story in America at the time. It was a humongous deal. There was the awkward interviews right before the draft. And I mean, it was like Eli was the puppet and Archie had the strings. And they call NFL analysts, not people on Twitter. NFL analysts and sports writers were calling him a brat, entitled, silver spoon in his mouth. Shouldn't have to play it down in the NFL. Kid thinks he can just pick wherever he wants to go. Total entitlement, nepo baby. I mean, dragged through the mud as much as you could have before social media. But some Joe Blow on Twitter doesn't remember that. So it didn't happen. And that this apparently didn't happen because Archie and Eli are white. I trust you. I assure you, it does happen. It did happen. It was massive news. And he was booed at the draft. The Chargers draft party in San Diego were booing the crap out of him. There's video of people throwing things at the screen and flipping them off. And it was a massive deal. So just because you don't remember it doesn't mean it did not happen. Google is fucking free, man. You can look it up. You can see the stories from that time about the shit they were calling Archie and Eli. But that's revisionist history because it happened 20 years ago, so it didn't happen. Okay? Shedeur Sanders did not slip in the draft because of his dad, and he definitely did not slip in the draft because he's a black quarterback. As we've seen, that's no longer a fear for NFL teams. Unfortunately, it was not all that long ago, but Lamar Jackson is arguably, the second best quarterback in the league, won a couple of MVPs. Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the league. We're past this. We're past that narrative, which is great. It's great. But that's not why Shedeur Sanders slipped in the draft. Shedeur passed up 4 opportunities to play in front of NFL scouts. Okay, the Shrine Bowl, the Senior Bowl, the Big 12 Pro Day, and the NFL Scouting Combine. He didn't do any of those. And there were some questions about his maturity. Yes, when you play in a Rolex and show it off to the fans after you win a game, or when the opposing quarterback's trying to shake hands with you and, you just talk shit to him the whole time. Or the fact that assistant coaches came out and said it was the worst pre-draft interview they've ever heard in their lives. And that was not just one trying to make him slip in the draft to fall to their team, because he was picked in the 5th round. Okay, so that just wasn't lip service. There's something here. But of course, to Mel Kiper and a lot of social media, the NFL can't evaluate quarterbacks. Right. Because for every Tom Brady that's picked 199, there's 10 Peyton Mannings, John Elways, who also got dragged through the mud, by the way, for refusing to play for the team with the number 1 pick in the draft. But again, we don't remember that. Don't remember that because that doesn't fit the story here. There's Joe Burrow's pick number 1 overall. There's Patrick Mahomes picked in the first round of the draft. There's this is not the conspiracy theory you think it is. It's not. And the NFL does know how to evaluate quarterbacks. Sometimes they get it wrong. Of course they do. Of course, man. Mitch Trubisky was picked ahead of Patrick Mahomes. That sometimes they do get it wrong. But you saying, Mel Kiper, that Shedeur should have been the number 1 pick in the draft and he drops to 144 is a you problem. It's not an NFL problem right now. If he turns out to be Tom Brady, congrats. You're right. You weren't right about Tom Brady, by the way. You didn't have him as a first-round pick. You had Giovanni Carmazzi over him. So whose problem really is it over the last 50 years? Mel, is it you or is it the NFL? Shedeur Sanders was an excellent college quarterback. He played with a shit offensive line, but he did play for an NFL offensive coordinator, and he was pretty good. That doesn't always translate to being the best quarterback in the draft. You look at the top college quarterbacks ever, the top, winners in college football, the top touchdown throwers in college football. Joe Burrow has the greatest season, and he becomes the number 1 pick, leads his team to a Super Bowl appearance, and he's a pretty damn good quarterback in this league. But you look at some of the other ones at the top, Graham Harrell, Case Keenum, Cliff Kingsbury, Timmy Chang, Colt Brennan, the late Colt Brennan. Just because you're a good quarterback in college and you put up great numbers does not mean you're going to be a great pro. It doesn't mean that at all. Colt McCoy and Sam Bradford and Tim Tebow were the 3 Heisman finalists in 2008. They were all seen as big-time quarterback prospects. They all sucked in the NFL. One was picked number 1 overall. Another was picked in the first round. Another was picked in the third round. And they all sucked. Just because you're a good quarterback in college does not mean you're instantly a good pro. And it does not mean that when you're picked in the 5th round that there's this grand conspiracy against you from 32 NFL teams. Like, you really think the Browns care about his race or his dad? They're behind everybody in developing quarterbacks. And you think that's what they're going to hold up as, like, here's why we can't pick the guy in the first round? They picked another quarterback ahead of him, man. He's coming in as a depth guy. Or name your team, by the way. Name your team that can't develop quarterbacks, right? The Raiders or the Cardinals who are looking for something else, or, name your team. And you really think that's what they're going to take into account when they're falling behind everybody else in the National Football League? It's just crazy to me that people think like this. That's not the reason Shedeur slipped in the draft. There were some maturity concerns, not as many as some of the other players in the draft. We talked about Braden Swinson from LSU dropped like 70 spots on the big board to go to the Patriots in the 5th round because of some character concerns. Shedeur was not seen as a slam dunk first round pick going into the draft. Only to Mel Kiper. Anyway, I do want to know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Only about 10% of you are actually subscribed that are watching, so subscribe. We're bringing you nothing but Boston sports content 5 days a week, live on YouTube, high noon Eastern time, and then wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air. Check out the other videos on the channel to keep up with all that we're doing here on the Cam Show. I do want one more Shedeur thing before we get out of here, because it wasn't part of the slipping in the draft, but this prank phone call is getting wild to me. So it's the son of Jeff Ulbrich, the DC for the Falcons, that made the prank phone call or got the number for the prank phone call, whatever it was. He's involved in it. And it's shitty. It's a shitty thing to do, right? They called up Shedeur Sanders and they said, we're pretending to be whatever team and that they were going to pick him. It sucks. Like, these guys have been waiting their whole life for this moment. It sucks, and their numbers should be private. It sucks that this gets out, and it's pretty shitty that it happens. But then once again, it gets taken way too far on social media. First, they say this should be a hate crime of some sort because it's clearly rooted in racism to take Shedeur Sanders' phone number and call him. Of course, Cooper DeJean had this happen to him a few years ago. The same kids that called Shedeur Sanders also called Tyler Warren, the white tight end from Penn State. But whatever, I digress. The thing that really bugs me is that everyone is saying in here on social media, which is not the way of the world, that the Falcons should have to forfeit a draft pick. The league should take a draft pick away from the Atlanta Falcons because the son of a staffer made a prank phone call. Are we fucking serious, man? Like, I'm talking real NFL analysts that I respect are saying this, including Clarence Hill out in Dallas, covers the Cowboys really well, is saying that the Falcons should have a pick stripped away. Some are saying first-round pick. Some are saying a legitimate draft pick should be stripped away because the son of a staffer made a prank phone call. Like, how much have we lost our minds here? That is insane. It wasn't that long ago that the son of the Chiefs head coach, Andy Reid, who is also a coach for the Chiefs, killed someone drunk driving right outside the facility on the week of the Super Bowl. And nobody said take a draft pick away. Nobody. Fucking crickets. But when the son of a defensive coordinator makes a prank phone call, or if Robert Kraft goes to a rub and tug, consensual rub and tug, we need to take away the draft picks. What are we fucking doing here, man? What are we doing? What does that have to do with the Falcons at all? Really? The son of the defensive coordinator, Jack Solbrick is his name, clearly went into his dad's office, took a picture of the phone numbers, said this might be funny. The kid's in college. He's adult, right? We all understand how stupid we can be in college. We were all there. And he made some prank phone calls, man. Not just to Shador either. And we're saying take away a draft pick. Have we all lost our fucking minds, man? Like, how nuts is that? 10 or 12 years ago, the Falcons were caught piping in crowd noise at the Georgia Dome during games. And to me, that is a much worse offense by the team, because the team controlled that. They owned the building, and they said, hey, put in crowd noise so it's tougher for opponents to hear the play call that the quarterback's giving them or hear the snap count. But no, that's fine. At the time, we were too concerned about footballs getting deflated in cold weather. We were too concerned about that, taking first-round picks away for that. And now there are people that are seriously paid to cover this league that say take away a draft pick because he prank called guys during the draft. It's a shitty thing to do. It's nowhere fucking near criminal and nowhere near violating any rules of the NFL. I don't think Jeff Ulbrich gave the phone numbers to his son. I think his son probably went into the office and took a picture of it. It's a shitty thing to do, but that has nothing to do with the Atlanta Falcons organization. They should not be punished for it. It's stupid to even think so. I do want to hear what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below. You want to hear another stupid thing? It's not illegal, but it is stupid, just like the prank phone call. And that is this Bill Belichick relationship. It is getting more and more awkward by the day, and the national TV audience saw it yesterday. We've got to go over this clip. Jordan Hudson, Bill Belichick. I mean, it is Lady Macbeth incarnate right here. We're doing it next on the Cam Show.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels, our rebounders improve accuracy, control, and technique in both sports. Built with premium materials for durability and ease of use, they're ideal for training anywhere, anytime. Whether you're perfecting your soccer game or sharpening your lacrosse skills, Open Goal USA has you covered. Visit OpenGoAAALUSA.com and elevate your training today.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious. Find your blend at hempdelicious.com.
Introducing Muck Off's classic pink bike cleaner, powered by revolutionary nanotechnology that breaks down dirt and grime on a microscopic level while protecting your bike's delicate finish. Developed by our mad developer Alex and tested by riders, our products are made by riders for riders. Discover more at us.muc-off.com, where we break the mold to bring you the best in bike care.
Visit roguemediamusic.com for more music.
Are you ready to take control of your health? At 4U Health, we believe wellness and lab testing should be accessible, inclusive, and yes, fun. With our tech-powered at-home lab test, you save time and money while feeling your best. Say goodbye to long waits and office visits. Check your health on your own terms with 4U Health. Visit 4uhealth.com today and free yourself from traditional medicine. That's the number 4uhealth.com.
And now, back to our show.
Now back to the show. The show is called The Cam Show here on Rogue Media Sports Network, live on YouTube, just as we are every weekday, high noon Eastern time, then wherever you get your podcasts as well. I'm Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air. We're bringing you nothing but Boston sports content, and at least Boston sports adjacent, because I got to talk about this Bill Belichick thing again. Zach, did you see this? I'm curious to see how much it made the rounds around social media and what have you. Did you see this clip from yesterday, CBS Sunday Morning?
I did, to the point of where I think you'll be proud of me. I
always am, son.
Can we explain them never mind. So no, but I was on TikTok, YouTube, wherever I was, and I saw the clip from CBS Sunday Morning. And
we're going to play it in a second, by the way.
There's a part of it after we'll play. I'll tell you my favorite part, because there was a part of it that I was going to cut out, that I found the link and I emailed it to myself last night so I would have it for this morning to be able to pull it and find it. And then the more and more I thought about this, the more and more I was like, there's no way Cam doesn't already have this. Yeah. So that's why I didn't text you about it. It's because I was like, Cam for sure already has this. I think we'll be safe, and I'll just wait for my time to chime in when it is.
And we basically, right. Yeah, I mean, you're always right, Zach. You're always right. We basically had this conversation like a week or two ago when she was at practice. But this Bill Belichick thing is just getting weirder and weirder, guys. Like, it's legal. They're adults. She had a 65-year-old boyfriend before this. We're talking about Jordan Hudson, but really? I think the nation. Huh?
I didn't know about that.
Yes. So this is not her first rodeo here. But she's only 24. So she was dating when she was like 22. And we still don't know like some of the details behind it, how these two crazy kids got together. And Bill Belichick was being interviewed for CBS Sunday Morning to talk about his new book, being, Football Genius or whatever. I will read it because I'm a huge Bill Belichick fan. But this is good journalism in 2025. They're trying to get to the bottom of this, and we get the most awkward 30 seconds in Bill Belichick's entire life.
Jordan was a constant presence during our interview.
You have Jordan right over there. Everybody in the world seems to be following this relationship. They've got an opinion about your private life. It's got nothing to do with them, but they're invested in it. How do you deal with that?
Never been too worried about what everybody else thinks. Just try to do what I feel like is best for me and what's right.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
No?
No.
It's a topic neither one of them is comfortable commenting on.
That fucking stare. Did you see that shit?
Mm-hmm.
That is a death stare right there. Like, in the purest sense.
Yeah. No, it is. Well, so it led to some conversations amongst us during the Pete Souza show.
Okay. Which also on Rogue Media.
On the Rogue Media Sports Network from 10 to 11 Central, or I guess 11 to noon Eastern time.
Hey, you got
it. I went to Riesel. I know times. So that's a joke that just Cam gets. So, but I look at that and I would think that given her role, you would have to expect that you're going to be asked that question, or at least something there. And not having even a prepared statement of, if you didn't want to talk about it, of not just to like, oh, we'll talk about that when we're ready to, or it's just like, oh, we choose not to talk about it.
Yeah.
You can do that and deflect and be fine. But it was the stare. It was the almost being like caught off guard. And I get it. I guess if somebody wants to argue about like, well, this was going to be a puff piece. She didn't think that she was going to have to be like, no, I don't want to, answer those questions.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you would have to assume that if you're letting somebody in to talk to you about your relationship with Bill Belichick or about his job at North Carolina, and there's going to be questions about you, that might be something that comes up. You have it in you, even before, if y'all were there, if you didn't want them to be like, before the interview started, hey, we're cool with anything. Just if you don't mind, we'd like not to talk about that. And then if they bring it up again, then CBS Sunday Morning's the dicks. They're the ones that aren't, but you kind of doing that there. It's just, it seemed like, it makes it seem like there's something else there. Like, why'd you poke that? It's like a bruise or a scab or something like,
There's so much I'm taking from this too. I mean, for one thing, why does she need to control what he's being asked, in the sense that there's been no one better in history at answering questions without an answer than Bill Belichick? Nobody ever has been in the spotlight for 30 years now and not answered questions like Bill Belichick has. And he was ready to go. He had something up his sleeve. The other thing is like, this is CBS Sunday morning. I know this is not the 1960s. But CBS Sunday Morning, like, this is a big deal still. This is a big kind of spot. And, you've got producers and reporters there, and you've got a 24-year-old telling you what you can and can't talk about. It's just an odd place to be. I understand it journalistically. I'm not trying to call out the reporter for that. It's just an odd place to be. And the other thing is, now we want to know, how did they meet? Why is this some big secret? You know, I can understand not wanting to talk about your relationship too much, but that's an easy question if it's not weird. Oh, we had some mutual friends. We got set up by some friends. Who are those friends? I'm not telling you who that is. You don't need to know that. But seriously, that makes me start to lean towards like escort territory. Like, was this a one night payment plan that turned into something more? You know, this is where I'm like, what are we trying to hide here? And why does Bill Belichick need a 24-year-old to control his life? Why does he need a Lady Macbeth? That stare at the end there. We've all been in contact with some crazy ladies. Let's just put it that way.
Even after
that was beyond that. That was more than that.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off and all that, but it's just like, it's even after, it's just the stare after too. Like you ever know where like you've been in trouble and it's like, oh, I effed up.
Yeah.
And it's because it's just quiet after and the stare still lingers. Like that stare is lingering there. And so that's what adds to it then too. It's not just like a little, oh, we don't want to talk about it because something there, it's like, we don't want to talk about it.
And I think
it's weird, right? I mean,
and I think we need to emphasize the context here. Not only is this man in his 70s, Bill Belichick, but we're talking about this is the greatest football coach in the history of Earth. This is the most accomplished football coach ever. And he's being told what he can and can't say by someone who's younger than me, who can't even rent a car on her own. Like,
yeah, she will here soon.
That's fucking crazy. That's crazy. This is a guy I completely idolized growing up. I lived my life by some of his teachings, by the way he ran football teams. And he's like a puppet for a grad student. Like, what are we fucking doing here? This is gonna create some more waves in this story, but this is insane, man. Like, we can't get over that first hump. That they're not the 50-year age difference. It's weird. It's creepy. It's legal, but it's creepy. But the fact that she is now not only a 50-year age difference, this is not a trophy wife. This is being controlled. This is like the real Bill Belichick died a year ago, and someone's wearing the skin suit, and Jordan Hudson has her hand up his ass, controlling whatever he's saying. It's fucking bizarre beyond belief. And I can't tell you the last time we saw something quite this weird by someone of this great a stature in the NFL. Like, you know what I mean? I can't, it's very, 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 quite often we'll see, especially, you know, real prickly guys like Bill Belichick can be in their later years. It's their kids that, for better or for worse, will trot them out there. Right. We saw this recently on Celtic City. Bill Russell's daughter, got him to go back to Boston, hang out with the Celtics and with Red. And that really did a lot of good things for Bill Russell's legacy and for obviously the city of Boston. On the flip side, John Henry Williams would wheel out Ted, and Ted couldn't even see. And he's just signing autographs for hours and hours at a time. He's got all this arthritis. He could barely see it. And John Henry Williams is just making a good buck off it, right? Yeah. And when Ted Williams goes out in the All-Star game in 99, he's not wearing a Red Sox hat. He is wearing a hitter.com hat, which is the website that John Henry Williams set up for Ted. So you can see it both ways. And that's for the kids. This is a 24-year-old girlfriend. Maybe I'm wrong, Zach. I can't remember the last time I've seen something like this. This is unfathomable for someone who grew up idolizing Bill Belichick and his kingdom. It's crazy.
No, it is crazy. I've been working on getting my favorite clip that wasn't that I thought you were going to get to in there too.
There's a couple things I left on the cutting room floor. I just thought that was the important 30 seconds.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's one of those things of where you kind of bring up, you know, talking about Ted Williams, which is a great, I think, you know, comparison there of this. I don't think that obviously Bill is anywhere to that point. I like, because what you're talking about there, and what I would think that when people talk about this in a way, it's elderly abuse in a way. And I think of, I'm going to get very nerdy for a second, but I host a comic book podcast.
Yes.
And in the world of comic books, there's a guy who was there's a guy who was a very big name that a lot of people who aren't familiar with comic books know, and that is Stan Lee. And that was one of the things when he got older in life too, he had a caretaker, and it was the same thing. We're at these conventions and at these.
Put him at the Comic
like,
Cons.
this,
Yep,
I do that exactly.
Photos. Yep.
And it's one of those of where people just take advantage of the situation that they
go
YouTube
in. Search Frankie Valli's concerts in 2025. You'll see exactly what we're talking about there.
So here's the thing though. I don't think Bill Belichick, his facilities are anywhere near that point though. Like you talk about,
he's coaching a Division I team.
Exactly. So we can't call it that. It's not that. This is all, whatever happens from this, it's all on Bill Belichick.
It's crazy. And by the way, you wouldn't know what Division I football team he's coaching because they're both wearing Navy stuff.
Yeah, I'd be kind of Virginia, right?
Virginia,
right? Based off the colors.
Yeah, it was Navy, but yeah.
Doesn't Virginia have Navy?
We said it's Naval Academy, Zach. It says Navy.
Oh, I thought you meant the color Navy.
They're both wearing Navy stuff. Bubba Cunningham's got to be pissed about that. But I don't know, man. We're running out of time, but we're going to see more of this. And I texted Pete because I was on Pete's show the other day talking about this for like a sentence. And I said, by the way. I said, when we get to football, I don't care what Pete says. When we get to football season, this is going to go away. Like Belichick's going to be in football mode and nothing stops him from football mode, right? His kids didn't, his first wife didn't, his second girlfriend didn't. Like that's just not going to happen. I texted Pete after this video came out and I said, I don't know if he's got this under control. This is going to get worse. Do you have that clip? You want to play that one clip before we go?
I wanted to. I think this is going to be it. It's longer than I thought it was, but I'll go ahead and throw this one up then if you don't mind real quick.
Let's do it.
Though Hudson has recently posted about it on Instagram.
You joined InstaFace, as you put it. I love that. There's some great pictures of you and Jordan where you're a fisherman and she's a mermaid. It's charming. It's a different side of you. What's the reaction been like?
What's it been like?
To have these different sort of photos. There's another one where you're doing, I know you're not into meditation or yoga or Pilates. You're balancing Jordan on your feet and she's doing kind of the Titanic pose.
Yeah, so I'm on some of those social media platforms, but I honestly don't follow them.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part of it. Because honestly,
that does bring up a greater point too of like, you're putting this out there. Like everyone in the world knows that this is a relationship because of Jordan, not because of Bill. And so that's where being a 24-year-old, as much whatever fucking PR experience you have, you don't get this. Like when you put that shit out there, of course we're going to ask questions about. Of course we are.
But that to me is just honestly, that is a very Bill Belichick answer. I feel like at the end, oddly enough, of like, I'm on there, but I don't know. But that is one of those things that it then feels of like, hey, we took these pictures, and he honestly has no clue what's being posted out there.
And if I'm the reporter, by the way, I think a good follow-up, he says, what was the reaction? I would say, yeah, like, how does your family react to this? How do your kids who are, almost twice the age of her, 10, 12 years older than her, how do they react to this? How does your ex-wife react to this? How do the people around you, how's Mike Lombardi react to this?
Again, obviously, Bill is a grown man who can live his life however he wants to do it, and he should not heed any advice to what I have to say at all. But if it were me and I were Bill in this, and the situations were all the same, I would prefer just to keep it low key and kind of keep it not on CBS Sunday morning, and then I don't have to worry about people questioning what's going on.
She's putting them out there. She's putting him on Instagram. She's miking him up at practices. She absolutely had something to do with this interview because all the interview requests are CC'd to Jordan Hudson. It's a mess, man. The Lady Macbeth of Tobacco Road.
That is a solid nickname, though.
They used to call Hillary the Lady Macbeth of Little Rock. That flowed a little bit better.
But
it's just it's crazy. And this is not going away. Last thought. This is not going away.
No. This is you hit the nail right on the head. This is going to be something, and kind of the reason that I'm a little more upset that North Carolina is not doing like the Hard Knocks version of the show, because this is definitely leaking into the season somehow. I don't know when, I don't know where, and I don't know how, but we have not, like, this isn't going to be something that once, in August, everybody's there for workouts, that's going to stop. And this is going to turn back into like Belichick coaching the Patriots. He might think it is, or like everybody might think it is, but it doesn't feel right now that that's how it's going to be. Like, this is just the beginning. We're going to see something else happen.
That's Zach Burke. I'm Cam Stewart. It's the Cam Show, live on YouTube every weekday, high noon Eastern time, and then available wherever you get your podcasts. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, helps us out a lot. We're on the march towards 4,000 subscribers, and only about 10% of you that are watching are actually subscribed. So hit that subscribe button. We're bringing you nothing but Boston sports content 5 days a week. Check out the other videos on the channel here. Again, Cam Stewart, Zach Burke. We'll see you tomorrow on a little ditty that we like to call the Cam Show.
Transform your workspace with Hanomi Ergonomics. From adjustable chairs to standing desks, we provide solutions for comfort and productivity, whether at home or in the office. Improve your posture, reduce strain, and work smarter. Visit us at hanomi.co today. That's HINOMI.co today. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit Internex.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today. Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Saints, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit TwoSains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.